My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
BooBaes. BooBaes.
Hi,
Hello.
and welcome to
Welcome, yeah. to
BooBaes.
BooBaes. Look at this when I looked it up. Trash failure.
Some people have some really harsh opinions, don't they?
So we're in for a trash failure of a movie.
Is that how you feel about it as well?
No.
I didn't think it was a trash failure.
I didn't think it was a trash failure either.
Yeah.
So fuck those people.
I thought it was a solid sequel. Like, especially when sequels are usually not that great. Usually, the first one's the good one. But I feel like this one, if anything, outdid what the first one did. Kind of basically like copy and paste, but like turn it up to a good 10.
Turn it up to 11.
Which is what you want in a sequel. I mean, you hear the rules from Scream 2.
Scream.
Yeah. It's got to be more kills. There's got to be more
ante.
scary. There's, yeah. So we're going to be delving into the realm of the Conjuring universe. Once again, we dipped our toes in it a few episodes back with the Nun. And we've obviously covered within our second episode, The Devil Made Me Do It.
We've covered all the Conjuring
All
1,
of
2,
them,
and
right?
3.
At this point,
We haven't
yeah.
touched any Annabelles yet.
No, we should. That'd
We
be
should.
fun.
Let's
And
do those next.
There's 3 of them, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Annabelle Creation,
And they're
Annabelle
all on
Comes Home.
HBO Max as well.
Shout out to HBO Max. You can sponsor us.
Yeah.
Because that'd be lovely and a good thing for you to do.
Yes.
Sounds like brownie points. But we're talking about The Nun 2, you guys.
That's right.
Obsies, if you haven't read the title just yet of this episode. It is a 2023 film. It is American Gothic supernatural horror and directed by Michael Chaves or Chaves. He might not. Oh, I'm going to say that man is a Chaves. It doesn't look like
Chaves.
a Chavez.
Yeah. I'm gonna
That
say
is a white
Chaves.
man. But yeah, it is on, where did we watch it? HBO, right?
HBO is
Yeah.
where I watched this film.
Same Z's. And I don't know if we have to give too much lore about it. If you want to know anything about the first movie, listen to our episode.
Yeah, we've got a whole episode that tells you all about it.
Yeah, but this kind of just segues from that one into this one.
Remind me at the end of this, I have something to add about last week's episode.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Do you just want to get it out the way now?
Or I can do it now.
Yeah, what's up?
Before we dive too far in. Phil told me that apparently the stream never even went live. And then, but that maybe that the captain was just egging him on, telling him that they were getting those views to get him further in.
Yeah.
But he said at the end the stream was never even live.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
And that maybe
I'll have to rewatch that.
Or maybe even that the ghosts were manipulating it.
I mean, that could be a thing as well.
Yeah.
Because also, like,
I told him I'd have to watch it again with that in mind.
Yeah. It was a really good film, though. It was a really good pick, Phil. But okay, so that means that he was either getting manipulated or he was doing the manipulating in order for them to go further into it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sick. Pretty twisted.
Either way you look at it.
He met his fate, so he got his
did.
comeuppance.
Yeah.
Captain.
El Capitan.
What was his name? Favorite actor?
Hajun.
Hajun. But yeah, okay. Thanks, Phil. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah.
It kind of adds to it. Yeah, for sure. Because
he also loved the fill me up part.
Anytime, Phil. It's like it can mean so many different things, but we won't get into that. So yeah, the Nun 2. We open up with basically
Was Jacques
Jacques.
as he runs
I love the way
around.
it's spelled.
Yeah.
But yes, but with Jacques. And
Jacques.
like you said, he's running around and he's running into the church.
Tarascon, France, 1956 is where we lay our scene.
Yes, and he is going to. I'm assuming he's like an altar boy, right?
Yeah,
That's what
he's
they're
an
called?
altar boy.
Altar boy, and so he's going in, and of course the priest is like, you're late, and then he's telling him to go fetch the blood of Jesus
Wine.
crossed, but not
For
the blood,
communion.
the wine. Yeah, and I love how the little boy is like sassy. He's like, you go get it or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
and then the father's like, pardon? And he was like, nothing.
But he does go down there. We see that he goes and fetches this big old glass thing, wine thing.
Yeah, it's like this massive globe.
Yeah.
It was really, honestly,
looks really precarious. Looks like it'll so easy to break.
which it does.
Yeah.
But he makes a good point, or the movie makes a good point of showing the ball going, because he was playing football or soccer, as
For
we
us
call it.
Americans,
Yeah. And he was playing with a ball, so he puts the ball into the corner and he puts it away.
Yeah.
And
very intentionally, so
yeah.
we know and he knows that like it is where it's supposed to be.
Exactly. And then he goes up, and then they go all the way through communion. He's swinging around is that incense?
I don't
that
know,
they
honestly.
burn.
I don't know.
I don't know anything about Catholicism.
Neither do I.
But the altar boys swing something back and forth, and it has smoke come out of it. So I'm assuming it's like an incense.
Like when people burn sage, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I mean, in a sense, Christianity, religion, it's all. There's casting spells, prayers, spells, incantations.
Yeah.
That's all it really is. So it's basically the same thing.
Demons.
Saging it up. And so we're having the body of Christ and everything. And I loved how at first that big wafer he had.
It was huge.
It was massive. I've never seen one that big.
And then
I'm
he just
is that for the VIPs?
Puts it on her tongue.
Yeah.
But I guess it was a smaller one.
Those are smaller ones, right? But I was like, why don't we get the big one? Like, what? Like,
yeah, you fold that little wafer up. It looked like a whole thing of rice paper.
Yeah.
I was like,
but I thought it was funny. I'd
or
never
like the
seen
size
one
of
that
a
big.
rice cake.
Well, because there's right, it's communion in Catholicism, but I grew up and I went to like a Pentecostal church, and we still did communion, but it wasn't communion. It was called something different. I don't know what.
Oh, really?
But yeah. But like we still did the whole thing where you go and like.
I feel like when I went to a Pentecostal church, it was still called communion.
Maybe it was called communion. Maybe I wasn't paying attention.
I went to a Pentecostal church for a little bit.
I did it half the time, and the other time I just sat out and was like, y'all go ahead.
Oh, I was so excited every time.
Oh, really?
Because I was like, yes, I get to eat.
A little chip or a little. There was some because there's different kinds. There's a little like paper ones, and then there's little cracker ones.
At the Pentecostal church I went to, they use King's Hawaiian bread.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you just like tore off some King's Hawaiian bread.
Girl, that is the funniest
It was bougie.
shit. That just means you can do anything. Girl, I can take in a loaf up there and be like, body of Christ.
Yeah.
Yep, here it is. That's
I
funny.
mean,
no, and there was even a one time I remember.
Like I saw the packaging.
No.
I'm certain.
Oh yeah,
it
I
was
believe
King's
you.
Hawaiian bread.
There was. I remember one time our church had even gotten these ones where it was like, girl, I don't know what website or what like company got to them, but it was like they came 2 in 1. So it was like basically your little juice thing of like
and then the
little cracker on
was
top, and you would peel this thing and then eat the cracker, and then it would reveal that like, and then you eat the cup.
Yeah,
and then it's all in one.
I think I've seen those
cunty.
too.
That is so cunty.
Yeah.
Anyways, cunty communion. So we have all that happening,
Cunty
and
communion.
the
Let's put that on a shirt.
He gets right. I would sell. Maybe
I
not
would wear
here,
that shirt,
but somewhere else.
Yeah, probably
not. But
we live in the Bible Belt.
We have him going, and now he needs to put up the wine, and so he goes back downstairs, which is essentially, I guess, a basement or a cellar. And so it's already spooky.
Something
enough.
spooky.
Yeah. So he gets down there, and we see that there is the little stool thing that he was using to reach the glass because it was up high. He was using it to reach the vase of wine, and there's a ball sitting on top of it, and it's obviously not where he left the ball, and he's looking at it like, huh.
And it's
kind of
like
he like looks around and he's like, who did that?
And then he kicks the little ball off and he kicks it back into the room and he moves the stool and then puts up this gigantic globe of wine.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he can't see it in his peripheral, but like us behind him, we're seeing just this like, blurred vision of a ball roll up behind him. It was a cool shot.
Yeah.
Because it was like you weren't really expecting anything, and then all of a sudden you see something moving, and you're like, what?
Yeah. And then he turns around and he's like, wait a minute. Where's
Yeah.
that? And so then he does, I guess, what any other person would do, and he kicks it. He kicks it back into the abyss of nothingness.
Yeah.
And then it gets thrown
I don't
back
think
at
I
him.
would do that.
Yeah,
I think
I
I
wouldn't
would
have
have.
either.
I think I would have just ran.
No, yeah, I wouldn't have either because obviously something is moving the ball and it's not you.
I say that, but I went to the 16th floor in the dark by myself today in this building. I did call you to be on the phone with
That's
me
okay.
the whole
No,
time.
that's different. That's okay. I feel like
You were right, though.
more-
There was one area where I was going to die.
There was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrifying, you guys. This
could
building's
be it.
terrifying.
And so we have him then like freaking out because something kicks the ball back at him or throws it back at him, and then we have the glass globe thing.
Well, the
behind
ball
him.
never comes back out.
Oh no.
No, it
Oh.
just he hears like a growling.
Oh,
I
that's
think.
right.
Or maybe it does come back out. I don't know.
No,
but
you're good.
there's
I might be getting ahead of myself.
there is this like deep low growl,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, you hear this like tink, little tink of tink tink.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't said that
Like
in a long
I
time.
know. like a glass breaking tink.
Glass breaking tink,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden the globe just shatters. And I'm gonna be honest,
It spooked you?
I jumped.
It was pretty. Yeah.
I was expecting it, but then I was watching, and then I was like,
The manner of which it legit exploded. It wasn't just like a shattering.
Yeah.
And the wine,
And the wine
went, like,
was
everywhere.
rushing.
Yeah. And obviously freaked him out, so he goes out running, and he
Yeah.
runs up the stairs and goes to the sanctuary-ish area, chapel area, and
where
is-
Father
Mhm.
someone is.
And
I
he
forgot
starts
his name.
telling him like someone's here, like someone's downstairs, and they start to hear all these noises, and essentially you start to hear what the boy heard, like that, like this low growling type of like sinister sound,
And like breathing,
Yeah.
coming from all around the room, like rushing
like
past
it's everywhere.
them.
And then they start to camera's panning, and we start to see the holy water and like whatever this type of concoction is, the situation stone holding thing. I don't know,
Yeah,
like a fountain.
whatever holds the
Like a bath, like a water bath. thing.
Yeah,
bird bath
for little
That's-
birdies.
Yeah,
birds
and
just
it's-
bathing in holy water.
and it's some clean ass birds, and it's
Holy
sizzling.
cardinal.
It's sizzling, and all the
Boiled right up.
It's all boiling out, and they're like, "Whoa!" And then behind it, Valak appears.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Just you see all of a sudden Valak's little
Like the
eyeballs.
silhouette thing. Yeah.
And then
The shroud.
then all of a sudden, as soon as Valak's eyeballs pop up, the father gets
Yeeted into the air.
his bones start cracking and
He has
he's
risen.
gurgling, and then he's flying in the air, and then homeboy, it's like he's on the cross. He's got either arm outstretched, and then he just goes up in flames. He burns right up, and then we get a title card. The Nun 2, with the 2 being in the middle of the.
I really liked it.
Yeah, it was very like reflective. What
It was
Symmetrical.
Symmetrical, yeah. Because they have the ends reversed on
minus
reversed
the
on the other side.
being on there, but the nun,
Yeah, for sure.
nun, the word nun was symmetrical.
It's just really cool, but also it's simple at the same time,
Mhm.
and it's
Well placed.
Yeah, for sure. And
Before we got that though, I think didn't we get
Frenchie leaving.
Frenchie leaving? But I didn't know it was Frenchie at the time.
Yeah.
I just thought it was some man.
It's totally
leaving.
Frenchie. Spoiler alert. But we as the audience, we still don't see. So it just looks like Valak's shadow is like, and I think this is a really cool shot too, how
Yeah.
Valak's shadow is like
On the
getting
building,
smaller,
and
and
then-
then it's walking, and then the dude who's walking, and then it kind of goes, and then we get the title card. But
Yeah.
it was totally Frenchie, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Once later,
We're putting all the
once
pieces
they're
together.
explaining like at where it's been and stuff, we see that that was totally Frenchie
Yeah.
leaving town. But
Which I like the way they did that. And I like that we have Frenchie unfortunately, because it's also very heartbreaking. Because Frenchie's like he's like a really good character. Like you like the character.
Yeah.
But he's fucking played by a demon, so that sucks for him. But I like that we get to have Frenchie be essentially the vessel from like the first one. So it's still all familiar, even though we're now in different settings and we have new characters, and it feels reminiscent, but also new at the same time. So I kind of enjoy that throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
But
We have all the same characters from the first film minus Father
Burke, who they kill
Burke.
off screen
because he had cholera.
Yeah. I was kind of
He
like,
died.
I was like, damn, they couldn't have just let him be killed by Valak. That would have
Yeah.
been, I felt like that would have been more like, I don't know, stakes, I guess, because now it's like, oh, Valak is also targeting
The
us.
people, who were in the previous one.
Yeah, who were getting in the way of, essentially, I guess we didn't know that Valak the whole time was trying to get some eyes.
Eyeballs.
Lucy's eyes at that.
Which at first, whenever I saw the painting, I was like,
that's going to come in later? Or?
Yeah, I was like, because, I mean, they pan on it for quite a while, but I was like, are those some fucking eyeballs, like, on a plate?
Yeah.
And
I've also
then
never heard of, I guess there's so
Lucy,
many
the
saints.
patron saint of the blind.
I've never heard of her.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. I wonder
And
if they
what
made
a,
it up.
like,
Probably not.
Like, Americanized just name, Saint Lucy.
St. Lucy, yeah.
That's just, I love Lucy is all I can think of.
Lucille Ball.
She is the saint.
Lucille Ball
Patron saint Lucille Ball.
is a legend.
She is.
She paved the way. She really did. You know, her and her husband, Arnez, something Arnez, something. Yeah, because like I don't know all the details, but she did a lot for like I guess women and stuff in Hollywood and back in the day, and like she started her own production company and all that.
Yeah, she's badass.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. Lucille Ball. Where is she at today? Dead. She's
Dead.
buried somewhere.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to say it, Josh.
What is she? What's her latest project?
From the grave.
From the grave. And so yeah, we're now we open back to it's a beautiful day, and we have this truck, and it's like trying to get through the mud, and we have these nuns trying to get this truck through the mud, and who
We
is it?
see
It's our
Sister
Sister
Irene.
Yeah, from the first movie, played by Taissa Farmiga.
Yes.
And she is pretty cool. She is she comes up with the plan. She saves the day. She gets that board, puts it underneath the tire, as one does. It gets the truck out. I don't know. I guess this was just a scene to build camaraderie with the nun sisters and to show that she's liking where she's at, and you know, life is kind of happy now as opposed to what the fuck she had to go through in the first film.
Yeah.
And we are she goes back
Because in the first film, we had some like she was more like Sister Deborah.
Yeah.
She wasn't as well
received
and acclimated and stuff to the nun lifestyle yet. And so now she is.
Yeah. And she's definitely, I mean, we all, and from the first movie, we know Sister Irene is not like, she's not like your regular nun. She's a cool nun.
She's a cool nun.
And she's also got powers. So like,
she's an extra badass nun.
Like witch nun?
Witch nun.
Is that possible? I guess so. But yeah, why wouldn't they call that?
It's a gift.
Yeah. I'm like, no, it's witchcraft. But why? Never mind. Ooh. I'm about to go off on a tangent. My bad. And so, yeah, she goes back.
I mean, people say they can, hear the voice of God and stuff.
Sounds like witchcraft.
So, exactly.
Anyways, so we're about to get burned.
Turning blood.
We're about to look
turning
down.
wine into blood.
There's like one day we're going to be looking down. And there's pitchforks, and people are going to be like, burn them. But
we can never leave this building again.
So we're talking to some older sister is asking Sister Irene because she's back at the convent or whatever they're at. And she's telling her to like please get reins on, Sister Deborah because she doesn't want to go to confession, right?
Yeah. Because she doesn't think she has anything to confess. And then the Mother Superior is basically like, that's the whole reason you need to go to confession, bitch.
Yeah. And so so she goes and goes to talk to Miss the whole time I'm gonna refer to her as Debbie because I just call her Debbie throughout the whole film. I'm like, Debbie, it's Debbie.
I wrote Deborah
because Deborah, I don't know, Deborah just sounds like a bit like an older gal,
old
and this is like
name.
I don't know. She had to be like, what, 18, 19?
Yeah, she's a youngin'.
She's very young. And so she's talking to her, and this is where we kind of get some, what's the word I'm looking for? Like we're building the quality.
Humanization.
Yeah. Of
We're
like their
getting-
characters and their relationship.
Yeah.
Their bond. Yeah. And we're, like Caitlin just said, Debbie is very much like Sister Irene. And I think Irene also like sees that and like really is gravitating towards her as well, because she's like, this is a kindred spirit, like, and she sees the like, I need to probably like help guide her so she can come into her own, you know what I mean, type of vibes.
Yeah.
And she's definitely talking to her. They're learning about what she's like, because Debbie's trying to ask her why she's there. And essentially we get a little background information about Irene's mom and how she didn't really necessarily know her too much, which we found out later isn't true. But essentially, like, she's there because her dad couldn't really necessarily handle Irene, because Irene has visions. And
yeah, and it reminded her just of her mother. So
yeah.
we get a little bit more of Irene's backstory with her mom and how she's exactly like her.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, we really just get a flash of her, but Irene does say something along the lines of, you're just like your mother. And then she says, but I don't think he meant it as a compliment.
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we can assume that Irene's mom was
clairvoyant as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Deborah, we find out, is there because basically, like, her brother served in the military, so her dad sent her over here because he said that, well, if his sons can serve the country, his daughter can serve God. And we also learned that, because this is set in 56, right?
Yeah.
So
56.
they're from America, and there was obviously, a lot of racism going back on in those days. And so, still does, but she and her family ran out of town, basically.
Yeah, their house got set ablaze.
Yeah.
And then we find out later that her mother died in the fire as well. So pretty
traumatic,
yeah. For Miss Deborah. But then basically from there we go into some nuns telling basically the
whole first movie.
Yeah, they're just gossiping, it seems like,
peeling
while
potatoes.
peeling potatoes. Yeah.
With knives at that. I'm so glad we have potato peelers now.
Yeah.
Or like machines.
Don't slice off your whole tip of your thumb.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
But basically telling us the whole first movie and then saying that no one really knows what happens to the nun, saying that, and poor Irene's just having to sit there and listen to it. And I was like,
that one nun though was like very pointed with her stares. Like I feel like she knew that it was Irene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know,
but then she was also talking some mad shit on Irene, then basically being like, who knows? People say she went crazy and that the Vatican had to lock her up in an asylum and stuff like that. And I was like, poor Irene. That kind of sucks for her.
To have all those people thinking that about her.
Yeah. And then also, I don't know. I feel like, but maybe this is why I'm not a nun, but I would want to be known for that shit.
I'd walk up and be like, it was me, bitch.
I told Valak to sit down.
Literally.
And then, no. But
yeah.
Irene is much more humble than I.
Well, and also, too, she's not, doesn't seem like she's an attention. Like she doesn't. No, that's not what I meant. But yes, no. She's very shy. Like, and even from the first film, even now, like she seems very reserved. That's what I mean. Like very reserved. Like she doesn't care to like be in the spotlight. She doesn't even seem like
she's just here to do her
life.
job.
Yeah,
and live her life.
And even like with the like, she doesn't seem to like necessarily. What's the word? She just wants to praise Jesus.
She just wants to praise Jesus.
That's all. She just wants to be a good nun. And so we have
but I do think it's important that she does say that the demons choose their form to question their faith. And that this demon in particular, Valak, chose to I don't think she used the word Valak or the name Valak, but that this demon chose to appear as a nun, as one of them. But I think that's important because Valak seems to change shapes throughout this film and to what will pray.
Yeah.
Or would be more receptive to, like
Basically,
poor
like
Cedric.
It,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. But not It, because it's not necessarily scary. But I get what you mean. But yes, because like Cedric, like what would appeal to someone's like either insecurities, fears, or like to draw them in, like
what's gonna catch their attention most, and that is what Valak does. And
so then we have after Irene, kind of eavesdropping in on all of that happening with the sisters peeling the potatoes and whatnot, we have it cutting to we're at a boarding school.
Yep, and we've got some girls collecting cockroaches to set upon some old lady who we later find out is the head mistress.
And also is just we get to learn that this used to be like a monastery and was once a winery as well, and the monks used to like get drunk off of all the wine because there's so many wine barrels in the cellar area. So that we get a little bit of context and history of where we're at. They end up running to the headmistress's room, whatever, with some other mean girls that will kind of come into play later, and obviously pull that prank on her. And then we meet up with Frenchie, and he's talking to Sophie because Sophie has a gift for him. She wants to give him the friendship bracelet, right?
Yeah. And we can already see they show us to Maurice or Frenchie. I refer to him as Maurice for most of my notes.
Okay.
Because I forgot his nickname was Frenchie until they were like, Frenchie. And then I was like, oh, right.
Oh, yeah, same person.
That's what he went by. But we see, we get to establish a kind of a love connection between Kate and Maurice and through the window. And then we see Sophie as well. And then that kind of, you can already tell there's some tension there, or not tension, but
there's a like through line. There's a connection.
Connection between Kate and Maurice, and then that Sophie wants there to be a connection. You can tell that they do a good job. The actors did a great job of portraying that in the scene, in which Kate is played by what's her name, Susan from Narnia.
The Chronicles of Narnia. Sorry, I just yelled that, but yes.
But yes.
You don't see her in a lot of things.
No. I was like, why does she look so familiar? And then I was like, she played her. Her name was Susan, right? She played Susan.
Queen Susan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Susan Pevensey. I don't know, something like that, right?
Something.
Because her sister's name is Lucy.
Yes, Lucy.
Edmund. Then there's Edmund. And then King Peter. The High King and the High Queen, the little queen and the little king. And so we are also, after that little connection builds.
I want to know their last name.
It's Pevensey.
Pevensey.
I'll bet my bottom. Oh,
Pevensey.
Yeah, that sounds right. Everyone knew it was something like that.
What a good movie.
Yeah.
Goodness. Hag number 4.
Oh gosh. Oh,
looks
it's
like
like
a
her
mugshot.
What the fuck?
Sorry.
That is hilarious.
Just look up the Chronicles of Narnia cast, y'all.
And so we have Miss Sophie now is in the hallways trying to talk to Maurice, and she's giving him a friendship bracelet. But before she can even hand it to him, Miss mean bitch cunt number one comes and is just being rude and is like making fun of them, like, oh, Sophie has a crush on Maurice,
her boyfriend.
And then Maurice is gives her a little like, don't do that, that's not nice. And she's like, I don't have to treat you with any respect because you're just like a servant. And then he's like, well, at least servants know to treat people with respect.
Yeah.
And then
the servant
I love that kind
you
of
should treat everyone.
The face he kind of made in that, like before he said that too, was like, I really want to rip this bitch's face off, but it's children, okay.
But this is a kid.
Yeah. And so we have then the head mistress coming in, and she's like, what is this, a playground? No, everybody get to class, chop chop. And then we have her telling Maurice that there's a roach infestation in her office, and he's like, I'll get to it. And she's like, you better. And then he ends up giving Sophie the bracelet that he took back from the head bitch mean cunt number 1. And then that's pretty much it on that part because
Yeah, he shows her that he got it back.
Yeah,
and then
it's just building their like
puts it on, and he's like, "How's it look?"
It gives very like stepdad new kid
Yeah.
vibes. And so they're bonding, and then we have a little French girl, and she's making a delivery. She is coming in and she's knocking on the door. Nobody's answering, which I'm assuming someone would usually answer pretty quickly. And she's like about to walk off, but then the door just opens silently, nobody there.
And the mean girls are picking on her
creepy.
too.
Yeah.
And they provide not really a jump scare because you can see them, but they do. Once she just walks in to make her delivery because the door just opened, she's putting her things away, and then all of a sudden these little girls kind of like on the sort of window into this little cellar thing.
Yeah.
And then as she's going to leave, she's just about to the door, almost makes it, but then she hears some like gurgling and kind of like choking sounds coming from down the hall.
Little guttural sounds, I guess.
Yeah. And so she goes down the hallway and she sees none other than Maurice turned to his back to her, just kind of gurgling. And then all of a sudden she kind of freaks out, and then she runs into the hallway, and then we've got Valak there.
Yeah, Valak. Well, I love how and before she even runs out, because she's looking at him and he's just kind of standing there, right? And that's whenever you see Valak's finger come against, like, on the other side of the wall, remember, on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then she's like pops her little face out halfway, which is pretty creepy.
Yeah.
And then that girl takes off running.
That's when she takes
and
off.
And then she trips over all those like brooms. I don't even know.
Yeah, it was a bunch of
hose
stuff and
garden stuff, which makes sense because he's like the groundskeeper.
Yeah.
And I really liked how like the whole like the red filter that came up and you just see her, like,
Valak, yeah.
And then like the little girl almost makes it to the door, but the door closes and she just gets swung onto the wall. And honestly, I didn't think Valak was going to be so hardcore, but Valak just
kills this
breaks
little girl.
her neck, and you just see like the blood come all down.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
It was pretty neat.
It was pretty cool.
I was like, damn, Valak just killed this little girl. And then basically after we have this little girl getting killed, we're back with Irene, and we've got who you think is, well, I mean, who probably was Valak.
Yeah.
Standing there at the foot of her bed.
It kind of sounded like the from the first movie, the abbess. Yeah, remember? Yeah.
And well, she even refers to her as the abbess too, which I think is what she calls
the whoever is in that position.
Mother superior.
Yeah.
The highest person who's in charge of the abbey.
But it gave that because she's like, "Sister, you have a visitor."
Yeah. And then she just walks off, and then so Irene gets up and follows.
Sure, why not?
And
because it's the middle of the night. Of course we have visitors at this time.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
To just also be awoken by somebody standing at the foot of your bed.
Yeah.
Also not chill. But Irene gets up, she follows. Well, we don't really see her following the abbess, but she gets down to where Maurice is, and we get Maurice just standing under a light, and he turns around and he says, "Sister, save me." And then his face goes like,
yeah, definitely.
He's got like
possessed,
fun teeth and stuff.
Looks like a monster. And
Yeah.
then of course she wakes up because it was a nightmare or a vision, all in one. And the sisters are like, "It's okay, you're all right, like you're okay," like Sister Debbie, and sure, her nose is bleeding.
Yeah, her nose is bleeding, and they're like, "Your nose," and she gets all cleaned up. But then the next day, she actually does have a visitor.
A visitor, yeah.
The abbess is like, "You have a visitor," and I was like, "I swear to God, if it's Maurice."
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
No.
It was His Eminence.
His Eminence.
I don't know.
I don't like the way that sounds.
But that's what she called him.
Yeah.
And basically he's there, and Sister Deborah's at the back and kind of clues in too throughout this whole conversation. But His Eminence is there kind of being a dick for starters.
Very much so.
They're explaining to her how there's basically been a series of murders, or framed as suicides. Basically it's moving west across Europe, and it has origins in Romania.
And they're like, the demon is back.
Yeah, and they're like, basically the church needs a miracle and we need you to do it again. And she's like, no. And
Rightfully
then they're
so.
like, excuse me, bitch. And she's like, I said no.
Yeah.
And then
he doesn't give her a choice.
Yeah, he was like, can't or won't. She's like, I can't do it. And he says, can't or won't. And then she's like, I guess she agrees, but it kind of shows us off screen by her we're flashed to the train. Yeah. And
it's very Harry Potter.
Yes, because then Deborah walks into her little train booth and is like, oh, here you are.
Yeah.
And anything from the trolley.
We'll take the whole lot. Oh, my bad.
We'll take the lot.
I just delete. My bad. I make a lot of saliva. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And so, yeah, we have Sister Debbie showing up, and Irene's like, hold up, you need to go back home because essentially, like, you don't know what you're signing up for. Like, this is going to be a lot, like, to go back home, essentially. And
basically she says, you don't have what it takes.
Faith, yeah.
You don't have the faith for this. Like, she said, there's a whole convent of women who staked their entire lives on this and sacrificed their lives because they believed in it. And then she has a rather savage line she says, I hope you can find your faith when the time comes. And I was like, damn.
It's pretty savage.
Drop the mic.
And then we have them transitioning after that to, where are they now?
Marie's fixing a cabinet.
Yeah, he's fixing the cabinet because
we're
he's
all
at the school.
Reading at the school.
That's right. And I love how when he was like, and she's like cutting it off, and the little girl's like, I was just getting
into character.
And the other girls are like, yeah, an awful character.
Yeah.
But we have another moment where, French Maurice and what's her name? Kate yes. are. They're not even flirting really, but like they just can't stop making googly eyes at each other and like have these lingering, like they both want to say something, but like neither of them really do.
Yeah.
Moment.
Like whenever he turns around and stuff. And then
she's
like,
just kind of like, and then I love how when he walks away, she also kind of makes this like face of like, damn, like why wasn't I cooler? Or why didn't I say,
why didn't I let him walk or why am I letting him walk away?
Yeah. Or like, why didn't I let him fuck me on this desk right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the movie we came here to see.
Literally. Valak joins. Can you imagine? She's just watching.
Valak has a dick.
Stroking in the corner. And so we have him fixing that, of course. And then we have the Mean Girls coming into, because we're at recess right now, but the Mean Girls come to like talk to Sophie, and they're like, hey, like we have 10 more minutes left, like let's do something fun. And Sophie's like, I don't really trust y'all, but then they're like, don't worry, like we're not gonna do anything to hurt you or whatever, we're
not up to anything right now.
But surely enough, they end up taking her to the chapel, which is closed, which
off
we can
limits.
See that it's been said it's off limits, and then it's got chains on it.
Chained not well enough.
Yeah, because the little girls
can slip through it. Yeah, but they go, and as they get into the chapel, we see something underneath a shroud, and the shroud
turns its head.
Goes.
Yeah,
it sounds like a little
very
concrete.
gargoyle.
Yeah, exactly. And did you see that they're like remaking gargoyle?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? Anyways.
Yeah, it is cool. I never really got into gargoyles.
Oh, really? I love gargoyles. It's so fun.
That one. I mean, I got into all the others, like X-Men, 90s, like, the old X-Men cartoon. Well, I don't know. I feel like I got into all the other ones too. I mean, all the other cartoons. I just never got into gargoyles. I don't know why.
I love gargoyles.
And same for like Ninja Turtles. Those were the two, gargoyles and Ninja Turtles. Like I never really got into.
Oh, I love Ninja Turtles as well. One of my first Build-A-Bears was actually Mikey.
Yeah, that's cute.
And
Yeah,
So
but
I
it was
still
a bear,
have my key.
not
yeah.
a turtle.
No, it's a little turtle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like a special edition.
That's so cool. You know, I always wanted to go to Build-A-Bear, and then there came a time when that How to Train Your Dragon
Oh yeah.
movie came out, and they had a toothless one, and I thought it was the cutest
Toothless
thing.
is like
but
Toothless is so cute. I like can't. My
adorable.
brain can't comprehend
the big,
how cute.
it's the big doughy eye, the
It's
big
so
eyes, the big baby eyes.
cute.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so I always, you know, to be honest with you, it's shame and it's society because nobody. I'm a grown man. Like by the time
Who the fuck cares
at this point. So and then like nobody
encouraged.
Yeah,
you.
and then like I didn't have, and then I the amount of times I told like a friend like let's go, but like nobody's like, no, I don't want to go build a bear. So
I would
but
have gone with you.
Thanks. We didn't know each other then, so I did, you know, obviously, yeah.
Obviously, I couldn't,
and
but
so
I would have. It's fun. I only had 2 Build-A-Bears.
I
I
wanna do
had
the whole process.
Mikey, and then I had Snickers.
That's cute.
Snickers was a bear.
Okay.
And Snickers just had one little Texas Longhorn T-shirt, and then I would put boxers on them, like my
Aw.
brother's boxers.
Okay, hey, that works.
And I'd have to tie him in the back to fit.
If it fits, it fits.
If it fits, and then he was fully clothed, and it looked like he had just little like pajama pants,
That's cute.
but they were obviously not made for a teddy bear.
I mean, I even as an adult, like I don't mind a stuffed thing. They're
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of cute, and obviously you have dolls all over your house. But like,
yeah, I also have plushies.
like,
I have a
like
Mothman
plushies.
plushie.
Like, oh, that's cute. I think they're cute. I don't know. There was a moment in time where I like got rid of all these plushies because I'm like, I'm an adult.
I'm an adult.
I shouldn't have these. But now I find myself like,
I still have
why
my
am I
pillow
robbing
pet,
myself
too.
of that joy. They're just cute.
I have
like
my
'em.
pillow pet. His name's Walter. He's a water
Aw.
buffalo.
Water buffalo. That sounds
Yeah.
really cute.
He is
I just
really
bought
cute.
my niece a little stuffy too. It was a bunny. It was so soft. It was so cute. I
Aw.
almost wanted to like steal it. Look at that one.
Hold this one, Josh. We've got a
got a
little
stuffy right here.
mammoth in here.
I forgot his name. What's his name again?
Mammy.
Yeah,
Mammogram.
because we don't
It's
like this name.
I think it's Chihuahua.
It's Chienda,
Chienda.
which is such a weird
Not
name.
Chihuahua.
And I don't think that's probably how it's even
Kienda.
pronounced. I like that actually.
Kienda.
Kienda. This is Kienda.
That's a cute
Although
name.
it looks like a boy. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to injure you. I misgendered you.
Kienda the
It could be
mammoth.
Who knows? Kienda could be a guy name. I don't know why I'm making it to
Yeah.
not be a guy name. I think it's because there's a at the end of it.
Oh, that it sounds.
Kind of feminine, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It's a gender neutral name.
Are there no guy names that end with an Okay, we're gonna get away from this. All right. So we're now inside of this chapel thing. She's going to like the other girls, and the girls are looking at the stained glass thing. And we get this like basically what you're supposed to do is stand in front of the stained glass window, and whenever the light hits it and the sun hits it at the right point, the eye on this goat turns red, and they basically essentially call like it's the devil essentially.
Yeah.
And they're saying like if you don't look at it for 10 seconds and don't move or whatever,
You have to watch it the whole time that it's red.
Exactly.
Otherwise, if you look away, you've defied the devil,
and it'll come out.
and it'll come after you.
Yeah. Which,
So
of
the game is
course-
called Defy the Devil.
And of course they make her look at it, and of course they're like, whatever you do, whatever you hear, like just keep looking. And so what do? They leave her there.
They leave her,
Yeah.
little bitches. And then as she's sitting there staring at the red eye, the wind starts blowing in the room. The leaves
Mhm.
start rustling around her feet. And then it's so fun to just smush, right?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, I have an affinity for like wanting to gouge eyes out. So, like,
Well,
doing it.
this is now Lucy,
wow.
patron saint. But the wind starts blowing around, and then all of a sudden we get a shot of Valak behind her, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And then she
doesn't see it,
she
though.
doesn't see Valak, but we do. And then she runs off and runs down and out and is trying to get out, but then she can't escape because these little bitches locked her in.
And that's the worst thing, like especially because now we have this demon that's in there with her, and they're holding the doors and she can't leave. And I think this is is it the shroud that starts moving?
Yeah, the shroud starts moving towards her, and it's like inching closer and closer, and the shroud starts pulling off. And then it doesn't right as it pulls off the statue, there's a statue underneath it, and the statue comes like
It almost falls on her.
falling at her, but as it's falling at her, we get the image of Valak just kind of like
jump scare.
Yeah.
But then thankfully Maurice comes at the right time to save her and opens the door and is like, get out of, come out. And she gets out thankfully, and you can tell she's totally freaked out.
Yeah.
And
She won't even talk about it.
He can tell that she's freaked out, and he's like, are you okay? Like, did you see something? And I think that's whenever, is it her mom or is it the head mistress that comes? Nobody comes, right? That's just
it's her mom.
It's
that
her mom.
comes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Why aren't you in class?"
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, nothing." And Maurice is trying to explain like it's not her fault. The other girls, and then basically they just walk off.
Yeah.
And then we're back in Terrason.
Yeah, we're back with Sister Irene and Sister Deborah, and they're continuing their investigation. We're back at that, Terrason, where that church was at the beginning of the
where
film.
The father got caught on fire.
And they are talking, little boy. Oh, yeah. They're going through the church. This is where they see that painting, right? Of the saint, Lucy the saint?
Yeah, eventually. And yeah.
Something happens before that.
Basically, the priestess or whoever it is explaining, the nun, is explaining that like everyone says their church is cursed now and that God has abandoned them. That's then as Irene is standing there at the altar, she gets a vision of the burned father and turns around.
And the little boy,
Jack is behind her, and he comes up and places a rosary in her hand. And then all of a sudden, Deborah's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And then at this point, Deborah asks to see his room. And so they go in to see the father's room, the late father's. And they go and they're looking to go find the keys and stuff. But then that's whenever they're looking at the painting of Lucy. And Deborah's like, "Ugh, that's kind of creepy," which it was.
It was very
But
creepy.
it was also like a dope painting. And I was like, I would have that in my house.
I would not.
I liked it.
Too creepy for me.
It was a little creepy. But this is where Irene explains who Saint Lucy was, and that she was the patron saint of the blind, and that basically she was murdered by pagans and
who took her eyes out.
And that they set her on fire, but she wouldn't burn. Right?
Yeah.
Is what they said.
Because she was like holy or something.
Yeah.
And then essentially her family got the eyes
and scattered, and like they spread out around the they
globe.
all scattered around the globe.
Her ancestors,
not her eyeballs, the ancestors.
And they're all, I guess, through the series of all the ancestors, I don't know how, but this whole family lineage has been keeping these eyes protected in secret for all these years. And so we have them learning Deborah learning about all that, and us as the audience, all that's going to come into play later, a bunch of foreshadowing. And then I think this is whenever they go to this is when she has that flashback of Frenchie. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes. They go
Maurice.
And
they're talking about him.
They're basically, the priestess, the nun, is like, well, we had this handyman here who came from Romania.
That's what it is.
And he, was a world traveler and stuff, but he left the day after it happened. And
you can tell Irene's ears are like pricking up and her eyes are like, wait.
She's like, wait, yeah. And then
what's his name?
The nun was like, he had a nickname. It was called like, and then she was like, both at the same time, Frenchie.
And then she's like, dun, dun, dun. And it's kind of clicking for her a little bit now. And this is whenever we get into the flashback of whenever they were leaving each other after the first film, of all the incidents. And basically, this little good send off of like, he saved her life essentially. Right. And so she's like, I owe you, like, and he's like, we will forever be like connected to each other. Like, this is, basically we're family now. Like, we've been through shit. Yeah. We've been through a lot.
It also sounded like he was trying to like put some moves on her.
Oh yeah, he liked her.
He did like her. I was almost a little mad whenever he was like flirting with Kate, and then I was like, wait, he can't even be with Irene anyways, so it doesn't matter.
Her vow, and so we have, oh Lord, where are we at?
Basically, we're back at the. the flashback happens.
All that cutesy stuff.
With that,
whatever.
And then we're back at the boarding school.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was like, oh no, please don't let anything happen to Sophie. I got really attached to Sophie at this point, and I was like, please don't let her die, because she starts following what looks like her mom upstairs, basically. And because I think this is where she was spying on
Oh, she was spying
Kate
on Kate, because
and Maurice.
we get some background information about, this is where we learned about the old mistress's son and how he died.
Cedric dying
died in the war, the bombing, and that's why we don't go in the chapel. Yes.
And that's why the chapel looked as decrepit as it did, because
I
it
think
had
even
been
Frenchie,
bombed.
I think Frenchie was even like, why do we have kids around here? Like, with around that, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And then we have Sophie was spying, and then her mom goes back in, and then her mom makes like a little, oh, you were spying, like whatever.
Yeah.
And then we have her walking, I guess if she's going to class, and then Sophie kind of like takes a bit to go behind her, but she thinks she ends up following her mom because
she gets distracted because she looks back at Maurice.
Oh, Maurice! She notices
Maurice
he's
like starts seizing, basically.
And she thinks it's weird.
He had like one of the little garden hoe things, little spatula in his hand, and then dropped it. And as he was trying to chase the crows away, which the crows seem to be kind of like the herald this whole time of Valak.
True. Yeah.
Every time
they would come out. Yeah.
But yeah, then she starts following what looks like her mom upstairs.
It's not, Mama.
It's not. Just, you can tell by the way that she's walking and just being so quiet.
Oh yeah, and not responding to her, being like, Mom.
Yeah, exactly. And then she gets all the way up to the top, looks through this door, and I was like, that door did not look like it had as bright of wallpaper as it did.
Oh, no. No, yeah, it's really cool because we get this shot of her opening the door, and it happens to be the Warrens' house.
Yeah.
So cool. And Valak's just standing creepily at the end of the hallway. Like, which one was it that happens on? That, remember, Lorraine's daughter, I think.
It's in the original Conjuring.
Is it? Okay, yeah.
Wherever because her mom's sitting there writing in the notebook, and she has the vision and everything. I believe it happened in the
beginning of the second one.
It might be in the beginning of the second one.
I think it's the second one. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Because the first one's all about that first family. The nun doesn't make a appearance, I believe, just yet. But yeah, so it's really cool. We get a little tie in there. Also, how did that happen? I don't know.
Well, we get a flash of Lorraine's eyes at the end, too.
Yeah, we do.
Seeing that maybe she is a part of a descendant of Lucy as well.
Full-hearted. Yeah. She is a descendant. But also, but that doesn't necessarily explain the connection at that point, because that's also not Irene.
Maybe Valak can just slip through time.
Maybe.
I mean, Valak's a demon, so maybe she's getting banished at any point in time.
And it's all a circle and cyclical. Because if you think about it,
maybe
this is all happening before Valak even met the Warrens.
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting. That's a whole other thing to go into.
Maybe it took the power of all of them combined to actually abolish and get rid of Valak.
That's the third movie.
Yeah.
Like
Lorraine's powers coming in, and her
very Halloween Town.
Yeah.
With the Charmed. The power of three will set us free.
Malikima.
Yeah. You too. What's her brother's name? I forget his name.
Is it his name Peter?
No,
it's not Peter.
Come on. I know, we know it.
It's been so long because I don't have I don't have Halloween Town anymore. Disney Plus.
Disney Plusy. Oh, what is his name? Emmett, Daryl, John. Come on. It's Dylan. It's Dylan.
Dylan, Piper.
It's Dylan. Yeah.
Marnie, Dylan, Sophie, Gwen.
Sophie was badass witch. I'm really sad we didn't get more spin-offs or more now we get to see her.
How lame is that to have such an awesome Cromwell and then get stuck with the last name Piper?
That sucks.
Cromwell's so much more witchy. Yeah, because it's the mom.
Wait, no.
So the mom married.
No, that's right.
The mom married.
Yeah. Someone named Piper.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cromwell is the maiden name.
It is so cool.
But anyways, we are in that hallway.
Yeah.
And
then Valak comes out.
Yeah, Valak. Yeah, kind of. It seems like Valak charges, but it's crows that come out. And then all of a sudden we see that the hallway itself was nothing but dusty shit piled up in a corner and stuff, that it wasn't this bright, vibrant, colorful wallpaper in this super long hallway. It was actually a rather short room.
Yeah. And like a storage closet of some sorts. And then, I guess she closes. Does she walk off or somehow? I just remember that walks down a little bit, right?
Down to the second level of the staircase.
But that's when Valak
and then
pops
Valak is right in front of her.
Yeah. And then she's just looking at her menacingly. Oh, it is so creepy.
It was. I was like, oh God, girl, get away, get away, get away. And then all of a sudden her mom opens the door downstairs, letting light flood the building. And all of a sudden we see that Valak is gone, but there's this like,
it's like
imprint on the wall, that looks like Valak, or at least a nun in general.
Yeah.
On the wall, which I was like, Valak's part of the building now. Okay.
Spooky. And so the whole time we see that she wasn't following her mom, so she's like, "What the fuck?" And so then here we go. At that point, that's whenever we cut back to the sisters, Irene and Deborah, and they're trying to check into a motel, but for some reason, like their reservation was not saved. Yeah, so I
maybe
love how
she
Deborah's
just had
like,
a vision that she made a reservation and never actually did.
I love how Deborah's like,
that's some shit I'd do.
Let me handle it, and she's just like, can I speak to a manager? And so then that's when we have Irene stepping out, and she ends up quite luckily running into Jack, because he's playing football with the other little kids in town, and she sees him tying his shoe, and she's like, "Hey, weren't you that boy that was there at the church?" And she's like, "Don't be scared. My name's Irene, and I, can you tell me if you had a rosary?" And he's like, "That was Father, what's his face's? That was his,
Lamont or something."
Yeah, and she's trying to ask him a few questions, but he doesn't give her that much more information. And then he ends up running off, and she tries to go and chase him, and she follows what she thinks is him, but I don't think it was him at all. And gets
I don't think Jack was ever here.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? At all? Even at the beginning?
Yeah.
Oh, he couldn't also. Yeah. Also, the way they all disappeared, that makes sense.
Yeah, because the whole group disappears.
Yeah.
And then she's following just a singular one of this singular Jack.
Yeah.
Just running around, leading her through these corridors as he's kicking a ball around until she stumbles upon this like magazine rack stack.
Which I thought was the weirdest. Like, it was just kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah. Which, I mean, there could have been a magazine salesman there. Maybe it's a busy corridor where lots of people during the day.
But it's 1957, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't
56.
I didn't even know that magazines were like that big a deal back then.
Oh yeah, magazines were huge. That's how they sold all of their. I have a bunch of clippings from magazines and stuff back in the day.
It's like the internet.
Yeah.
For now. For then.
With all the ads and stuff like that. But it was really cool. We get this little turning of a card holder, and then we've got all the pages just going rustling through and turning, and they're, we start seeing like faces of fear and different images, and then all of a sudden they start slowly forming this form, and then all of a sudden the pages just stop, and we've got a Valak shape, and it doesn't do anything at first. It's just rather stagnant, and you're just like kind of looking at it, and you're like, okay, when's it gonna happen? And then she walks up to it like a dumbass. Yeah. I was like, bitch, get away from that. What are you doing? We do not go. We know we're fighting Valak. Like, don't go towards the thing that looks like a nun.
Specifically Valak. Yeah. And she goes up to it. And what happens?
That Valak pops out, grabs her by the throat.
Yep.
And she gets a vision of Saint Lucy having her eyes gouged out, and then I was like, but then maybe being given the gift of sight.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was, as we find out later. But we have basically her getting her eyes taken out, stabbed, and then
we see that they're like in this little silver. What do you call that? A lockbox, a little. So it
looked like
a jewelry case, like from back in the day,
like the same one from Anastasia. You've never seen Anastasia, never mind. It looked kind of like the music box from then. But yeah, a little tiny silver or a pill box, but bigger. Big enough to hold 2 eyeballs. And basically she then passes out. Deborah finds her on the ground later.
On the road. Yeah.
And she's screaming for help and stuff. And then we're back with the headmistress, right? And she's checking the grounds of the school.
She is. Yeah. And then she is doing that. She starts to hear some shit. And that's whenever she sees that it's Frenchie at the doors of the chained up chapel.
Yep.
And he's having another one of those moments, I guess, when he's like there but not there, and his body's just like, But it sounds like he's like shaking the chains, isn't he?
Yeah. It's like he's
breaking in but not breaking in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he's kind of like just like a shell of a person who doesn't really have many motor functions.
I see what you mean.
Because he's like, it's like he's trying to get in but doesn't know how to get in.
Yeah.
And so he's just like sitting there shaking on the doors because the demon knows that the eyeballs are in there.
Yeah.
But it can't get him to get
it open
through it. Yeah.
And so we have the headmistress, right? She's like, "Hey, Frenchie, what the fuck?" And he's just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. And she's even looking at like, he clearly looks like he's like going through it or something, because he's like all sweaty, and he's like, I'm so sorry. And like the way he like walks away, and she's just like,
it's okay. Just
like,
go back to bed. Go back to your room.
Sure. She was like, that's fucking weird. But then really immediately behind her, she just hears, "Mama." And she turns around and she's like, "What?" And so obviously we know that her little kid died earlier. So she's like, whoa. And immediately she just takes out that key and starts like
unlocking it. And
off.
I was like, don't unlock it.
And then she goes into the chapel, of course, and she's exploring because she hears the mama coming from in there, and she thinks it's Cedric. And then she ends up seeing Cedric, but like in a ghost dead form, Cedric. And he's like having her, she's basically chasing him through the room.
Yeah, because we keep seeing like
he's dodging her.
Yeah, little flashes of Cedric running, and then like going right behind something, and she's following him around with the flashlight, and then finally he stays still long enough for her to pan the flashlight on him, and then we see Valak behind him, and then just puts her little finger claws on his shoulder, grips his shoulder. And then he just starts laughing, and he picks up that incense thing, and then he just starts beating the shit out of her.
Mama. Yeah.
Throwing it around and gets her
She's
nice
doing the
and
best
dead.
she can to get away from him. And she's like, what the fuck? And then that's when.
But he's just going ham on her, just laughing like maniacally the whole time as well. And just.
She unfortunately gets positioned to where she's underneath that hook thing.
Major, like. Probably made of just solid steel or
would definitely kill somebody.
Something. And it falls on her head, and yep, she's out.
Dead from the neck up, dead from the neck down. Can't get much deader than that.
Yep.
Yeah. We have she's dead. The headmistress is dead. And so that's whenever we have her Irene wakes back up. I believe we're back with Irene and Sister Debbie.
Yeah.
Yep. And she wakes up from whatever, comatose state she was in from that vision she had. And
she basically says that my notes say that it's going to basically kill Maurice when it's done with him.
Yeah. Cause she has like this epiphany of like what it's after. Yeah. And what it wants this whole time has been the eyes. And yes, like you said, it's going to kill Maurice. So they need to go save Maurice.
And then whenever she comes to, Deborah's like, oh yeah, by the way, Jacques stopped by and he dropped this off.
That's right. Yeah,
and she pulls it out and it's the rosary, and then she finds this little crest on it, and she's like, this looks so familiar, but I can't figure out why. And Deborah's like, oh, actually I think I saw it on another of the deceased in these photos.
In the photographs, yeah.
And then so she pulls it out, and sure enough, the same crest, symbol is we find out later it's a family crest that is on this rosary is also on one of the deceased. And then basically next, I believe we have Kate finding the body of the headmistress. What's her name? I forgot.
I never knew her name.
I think I wrote it down at the end of my notes, which was not
conducive to this part. Yeah.
So but maybe we'll get it a little later.
Yeah.
Or maybe I saw it and went, well, it's too late to note that now.
Well, they end up, Kate finds her body, right? And she's
Yeah.
dead. And obviously Kate is like, what? And then we have them rolling out her body. And I think obviously it's a quick little, like, the cops are there and they're like trying to, get things cleaned up. And this is whenever we have.
And poor Sophie sees her body
yeah.
getting rolled past or carried past, and this freaks her out. And so she goes and hides.
Because Kate comes to French to Maurice and she's like, I can't find Kate anywhere. Please, like, help me find her. And he's like, okay, we'll find her. And so he goes looking, and which he does have a good idea. And he goes and finds her in the tower thing.
Bell tower thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's got a good little hiding spot.
I know. It was really cute.
And that's whenever, he's asking her, like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And she tells him, like, Miss, what's her fucking face never goes in there. And I don't know why she would go in there now. And like, there's a bad presence here. Like, I feel it. And he's like, wait, have you seen anything? And she's like, no, it's just a feeling.
She's like, there's something here that's not meant to be.
Mm-hmm. And so she's definitely onto something because she's not wrong. And then that's whenever we have him convincing her to, like, what does he say? Something about the fear, or he's basically just kind of giving her a little pep talk, but also kind of saying, like, I will protect you and it'll be okay. Like, nothing bad is going to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so they end up leaving and he gets her out. And then we cut back to Irene and Debbie, and they're at this, like, really fancy Catholic library place.
They're heading, to the Catholic archives.
Mm-hmm.
The Papa.
Exactly.
It was Pop de something. But it all happened too fast for me to write it down, and I don't know French. So,
but they're there. They show up.
They're there. She was like, I have some connections in the Catholic archive. She is going to meet said connections now. And basically she's going, and they're discovering that all the victims are descendants of St. Lucy. And that
also, how does the saint have descendants?
Yeah, true.
Tell me that.
Well,
like,
I mean,
do saints fuck?
I feel like, maybe they were just someone who was, like, so holy in life and
that
stuff.
They get, like, promoted.
But God did say to spread your seed, right? Didn't he say that? Like,
I guess I
feel like that's in the Bible.
There. Just kidding. But yeah, I guess, but I just didn't know. Like, I don't know. Honestly, grew up, like, I don't know much about saints. I thought when I was growing up, I literally thought saints were like angels. I didn't know that they were people that became famous.
I don't know anything about saints either. So
no, we might be all wrong. Okay, anyways, that was just my intrusive thoughts. I was like, how do they have descendants? Like, I don't.
Could be like just in the same family line. Like, say they had sisters.
Oh, okay.
And then
the blood
brothers.
That way.
Yeah.
That could be something.
Then so they just technically were related to that family, and
that could be it.
I mean, they could also have had children. Who knows?
I didn't mean to derail.
And then maybe they were better in their life and then got promoted to sainthood. I don't know.
That's true. But we are learning about all of this and how Valak wants to get to these eyes, because apparently if any demon entity gets to these eyes, we don't really even get necessarily, like, explained what it could be, but it's apparently super duper bad.
Yeah. And I love how Deborah was basically like, so the demon is after a pair of eyes. That was, like, exactly how she delivered the line. And
Very
I was
realistic.
like, yeah. Because in all honesty, it sounds kind of comical.
Yeah, it does. Like, what would a demon need those eyes for? Like, it's a demon.
Exactly.
Powerful enough to probably do. I mean, look at all the shit it's already been doing.
And they did explain that this demon perhaps was actually an angel previously that had been rejected by God. And hence, that's why basically I feel like it would be not like seen in the eyes of God again, but like promoted back to like angel power.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
If it got a hold of these eyes, which whenever Valak did get the eyes, there was like this halo, this glow of light that shone about.
Yeah. I mean, it looked
her
pretty
head.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Valak became pretty strong. It's basically like a power up. Like, if you play a video game, it's a power up. It's Super Mario with his little big Mario mushroom, essentially. And so we have after learning about all of this, they're like, all right, we're gonna go to because this is where they learned that what is this?
Jean-Paul Radar
Mhm.
was
The dude.
one of the descendants, and he had buried the eyeballs on the ground of his monastery, which
Yes.
then became a winery, and then now is a boarding school. And so if you put two and two together, you can clue in like, oh yeah, they're going to the boarding school where
The other part of the story
Maurice is now.
Yeah.
So now we're merging our storylines.
Yay. And so we end up we're heading there, and this is where we get a little bit more of bonding.
These
between...
nuns might not get there in one piece based
No.
on did you remember how the car was driving?
It was going
It
fast.
was like
yeah.
skirt like going in between lanes, like passing people and like about drifting on the corners.
It's
I
very
was
Tokyo
like,
Drift.
geez Louise. I was like,
It's of the
they're
utmost
gonna die before
importance.
they get there.
I wonder who the driver was.
It was probably
It was the bone guy from Halloween Town, Benny.
Oh yeah.
I think that's his name, Benny. But there we get another moment where Deborah and Irene are talking, and Irene was more forthcoming because she's like, I didn't necessarily tell you.
She's like, I lied to you.
Basically, yeah. She's like, I lied to you. I do remember more than I let on about my mother, and she was.
In fact, I remember everything.
Yeah, like she was like me, and we both had these powers, and essentially, like, her dad had her mom committed because he couldn't handle her.
Yeah,
and there was. Apparently back then her dad was just like, well, it's witchcraft or you're crazy, so don't be around us. And then of course when Irene was having these same stuff as her mom, her dad did not like that.
So he sent her away to the
conventy. Yes. And then this is whenever we have
a sweet little scene
between Mauricio and Kate.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and Sophie, like at first Sophie and Maurice are
right.
dancing,
Mm-hmm.
but then, he sets her down and then she's like, Mom, it's your turn.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, oh, no, I shouldn't. And she's like, please. And then she's like, no. And then she looks over at Maurice and he's like, I don't know, please.
Yeah.
And then they are dancing together. And while they're dancing and everything, it seems like really happy, hunky-dory time until Maurice starts like
passing out,
kind of like convulsing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he collapses. And this is when Kate finds the mark under his skin on the back of his neck, which we saw at the end of the first movie, showing that he was possessed of the upside down cross on his neck. And then we get the painting of Valak I was like, that painting hasn't been done yet.
No.
But we get the painting of Valak that Ed Warren paints in The Conjuring 2.
Yes. And I love how the nun pops out of it.
Yep. And she's like,
Rah. She's like, Rah. And then we have they're all running, and then this is whenever, thankfully in the nick of time, Sister Irene and Sister Deborah show up.
Yep, and they run right into him, and then basically Irene is like, get away from them. And then he was like, what the fuck is going on? And she's like, it's inside of you.
Yeah.
And then he all of a sudden just starts, like his bones start cracking, and then he says, hello, sister.
Very
just
sinister.
like that.
Yeah. Very Valak-y. Very cunty. Valak takes over, and then Irene gets blasted. No, because she gets chased, I think, a little bit first, but
she chases him, and then he just like
blasts her up against the window, and then like she falls down. And then I love how then Sister Deborah tries to come and help, but then she gets like yeeted across the room.
I love she just like hops on his back, and then he like
eats her,
flips her over him, and then then she gets force pushed back. And
then we have the Irene is calling out the demon, and she's basically like, leave him, like you have no power here. I expel you, demon, by the power of Christ.
And then Deborah's like, yeah, this ain't gonna work,
and knocks him out. Yeah. And then they tie him up, but
not at all good enough. No. Apparently, we find out later.
They're in the chapel and they're looking for the eyes at this point. They are with the little Sophie, and so Sophie is telling them about how like the light and the ghosts and the goat eyes and all that.
Eyes. And I said, what in the National Treasure is going
Yeah,
on here?
it does feel that way.
Yep, because the goat's eye, whenever it turns red, shines the light on the location of the buried eyeballs.
Which also gives kind of like the first movie, reminiscent to Mary Points the Way.
Yeah.
Which also
I think I said what in the National Treasure is this too.
Yeah.
This
cute.
movie has everything.
We need the crossover event.
Yeah.
That'd be
National Treasure times Nicolas Cage with Valak.
Yeah.
I love it.
And
I'd watch that movie.
He would beat Valak with the power of knowledge.
He'd get the Declaration of Independence and just smack it on Valak's face.
Could you imagine? And so then we have them obviously looking for where that's right, because Sister Deborah goes out on the other side and she is able to flash a flashlight through it and they make it point to where it's pointing. But at this point, as they're digging and trying to get it out, Sophie looks back up and the goat is gone.
The goat is just gone. And then we are with
the bitches,
one of whose name is Celeste. I got that.
Okay.
But awoken to something walking on the floor above them. And they were like, I think something's upstairs. And then so the main
bitch number
bitch
one
is like to Celeste,
you go check
bitch number two, you go. And I was like, bitch, why don't you go check it out? Or like go together. But then and so we're kind of like flashing back and forth between them. They find the eyes of Saint Lucy. They uncover the little box, and then Deborah runs into Celeste and is like, who are you? And Celeste is like, who are you? And she's like, I'm a friend of Kate's. And then she's like, I think there's something upstairs. And then she starts panning her light.
Oh yeah, this part.
And then she pans her light, and then we see the horns of a goat at first, and then it just turns its head and goes, wow.
It's so scary. Like it's like a goat man. It's like Mr. Tumnus, but evil.
I almost choked on my spit when I saw this.
Do you think it's comical?
I did.
Okay, got it.
Because it just was like, it literally was like, at them. And so then I was just, and no, it was terrifying whenever it started coming down the stairs at them, and it was coming so fast.
And
I was
so
like,
long.
with its legs and everything all hunched over. I was like, get inside that room now. But just its initial face on the goat was funny to me.
It was very like, get that flashlight off me, bitch.
Yeah.
I'm taking a shit.
It did look like it was taking a shit up in the corner. It was all hunched over.
Yeah, and so then they obviously are getting chased by this devil goat, and then they end up into the bedroom where all the other girls are sleeping in. And then they're able to get the door barricaded, and it's like beating on the door trying to get in. They're all like, what the fuck is that? And then I think at this point, even like it
starts throwing the girls around the room,
but without even being in there. Yeah. They're just like being thrown around,
tossed, and then shit starts flying, and then the door opens and it starts pulling Celeste towards it.
Yeah.
And Celeste is like, no, and then Deborah gets her in the nick of time.
And then before the demon goat can get in there, they run off, right? Or they go out a different way. They go out the back way. But then at this point, doesn't it cut to Maurice, and he's like attacking or chasing the group or something like that.
Yeah, Maurice has just shown up. We've seen now that Maurice has gotten out of his chains.
That's right.
We see him kind of waking up to crows cawing and flying past, and then the next shot we get is just the chains on the ground with no Maurice in sight. But Maurice has now popped up, and he first off throws Kate when Kate tries to like come near him, and then he gets poor Sophie's in the corner just like freaking out, and he gets Irene and he starts banging her head on the floor, and I was just like, oh shit, I thought she was dead. I thought she was a goner.
Yeah, you thought this was it for her.
Yeah, because
and then Debbie was gonna take over.
Hit her head like 3 times.
Yeah,
I was
pretty
like,
bad.
Ugh. On the concrete, I was like, her head's got to be pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
But Sophie then steals the eyes and runs off, and then we're back with the goat devil stalking them, basically stalking the other group.
The girls who are hiding, yeah. And they end up in this room that is adjacent to the headmistress's room, because we remember earlier when they were
Madame Laurent.
Madame Laurent, they were sticking the roaches in her room.
I knew I got her name here.
So at this point, we have head bitch, mean girl, putting her body in through that little I don't know, opening
Air
duct. Yeah. And she goes into the room and she's flashing the light in there and we see all these roaches everywhere. And she then flashes in the light enough and she hears a noise. So she flashes it and we see Madame
Laurent
standing there, but not facing her. And then she is like freaking out because she sees Madame Laurent there and she starts to try to come out, but she's not out all the way, right? Because that's whenever Madame Laurent like gets her and starts pulling her in.
Grabs her by the head and is pulling her in.
Yeah.
And then she's got her arms on either side.
Mhm.
And as her head's just getting like
Yeeted
pulled.
in,
Yeah. And then the other girls and Deborah
Helping
are
her
trying to pull her back and stuff. And then they end up pulling Madame Laurent all the way through this air duct with them. And Madame Laurent's like crawling out all creepy like.
Mhm.
And then
This is when
we
cut
have
to
Sophie hiding.
in her hideout, but Maurice obviously knows her hideout area, so he goes up there in the bell tower and he gets to her. And
he's trying to lure her out by acting like old Maurice, not possessed Maurice. He's like, "Hey, Captain," like because he would call her Captain and she would call him Lieutenant and stuff. And so he was like trying to lure her out by being sweet and like normal Maurice. But then all of a sudden the eyeballs start glowing and that like sets Maurice off.
Close to her, yeah. Because he's like kind of like getting close enough to her to like do something, but then those go off and he's like, ah, and then she's like, okay, and so she like ends up running. But then he's chasing after her, which is scary. And they're in the bell tower. And then somehow I don't remember why. Is it just because it's so old and like it's in
I think it's so old and
she's on that one part
because he like screamed and I think the eyes were starting to like trigger something that like maybe made the ground tremor. Yeah. And then basically the bell just comes down all the way through, ripping the floors out from underneath them and stuff. And
we get this big billow of smoke coming out. You know, Sister Irene is out there at the time.
She runs head first into the smoke.
Yeah.
And
not supposed to do.
Yeah. I was like, bitch, you can't even see. Like you're gonna trip over. I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's a water fountain in the middle of this thing, and you're gonna trip over it, or you're gonna run into his tomatoes.
And we cut back to Sophie and Maurice, and they're. She's basically hanging on for her dear life and trying to climb from one end of this like wooden stair thing to the other side, like a little bridge.
Very much like National Treasure, I think too when they're in the Mount Rushmore
and they have that thing. And then Maurice pops up and is like trying to claw at her, and unfortunately thankfully he falls off of and ends up like going all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, he almost got her. It was scary. I was like, whew.
Yeah.
And the poor girl, she could only grip with one hand because she's holding in the eyes with the other.
Yeah.
And she was so smart. She knew that she couldn't drop them.
Yeah.
Even though I probably would have been like, nope.
Or tossed it, but then he
tried to toss it up onto the level up ahead or something. But anyways, she was smart enough, and
then he falls, and then that's whenever Miss Irene comes in, and she's like calling out for Sophie, and she finds they get back together, and this is whenever Sophie gives her the eyes, and then he comes towards Sister Irene, and she tries to use the eyes on him, right? Or she's like holding them, and then he ends up like basically collapsing, and then it's pretty much a fake out because it's like trying to make her seem like she's won, she defeated it somehow.
And
this
Maurice
quickly
is now dead. Which I was like, Maurice is dead, and I was like, nah, that was too easy. And then she's like comes up to him and is like, oh, so sad, and crying, and then he's like,
ha, gotcha, bitch, and
surprise,
takes the eyes from her.
Yep. And then he stands up and he's got his arm raised, and the light starts shining through, and then all of a sudden the eyeballs go into him. And then Valak,
we get super cunt Valak,
super cunty Valak, just arises behind him and is like, she's got the longest robes now.
Make a Valak. Imagine that robe coming down the Met Gala stairs. Yeah.
Someone needs to come.
As Valak.
They should do a horror movie.
That would be
theme at the Met Gala.
Such a good theme.
Yeah.
Come on now.
People could eat it up. Be like Halloween.
They have all that money. They can make so many great costumes.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we have, obviously, I'm like, my notes was like, oh, Valak wins. Okay, movie's over. No, but she's super, super duper strong. And then just starts like going after everybody, essentially, after Irene.
And I was like, I guess Valak's an angel again now
right?
because of all the light that was coming behind her and stuff. I was like, Valak's an angel again, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, Valak's not letting anyone escape. Sophie tries to run away.
Yeah.
Gets caught.
I think at this point too, we cut back to the girls because they're still running away from the goat. I think at this point I just wrote, the head mean bitch girl number 1, her name is Simone.
Simone gets stabbed.
She gets impaled, yeah. And then we have Irene. This is when we come back to Valak and Irene gets risen into the air like the priest from the first part of the movie, and she gets set ablaze by Valak. But it's like going...
It's like up to her waist.
Yeah. And then we come to realize that Sister Irene doesn't burn.
Doesn't get burned.
Nope.
Just like Lucy. Yeah, because she basically gets this. We get these like flashes
while she's burning,
visions. Yeah, while she's burning, of like her mother and saying like, "You have my eyes, and I'll always be with you," and stuff like that.
Is this where we get the eyes of Lorraine, right?
Yes, and this is also where we get the eyes of Lorraine that pop up, and then basically it's just all that montage. And coming forth, and then she is like just drops to the ground, and she's like, yeah, I'm totally fine. Deborah's like, what the fuck, man? And she's like, I'm good.
And like in my notes, I'm like, Irene, remember, she's a bad fucking bitch.
Yeah. She did.
And so she ends up she fights off Valak's like blows that she's trying to send to her and Deborah. And then that's whenever he's trying to kill Sophie. And then that's whenever like
Deborah says something about the wine, and she's like, wait a minute. And I was like, oh shit, they're gonna turn all of this wine into the blood of Christ. Because if they believe it,
then it is.
Oh yeah, because Deborah says that was a miracle.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever she gets the idea. She was like, you have the faith now, like you've seen a miracle, because that was what Deborah said she wanted to come along with in the first place, to witness a miracle. And she was like, that was a miracle. So then Irene's like, okay, it's
time to believe.
Yeah,
because Sister Irene and Debbie, they're praying, right?
Yeah, and they're saying, I think, what they pray over the wine typically to make it into the blood of Christ. And so they say all their little...
And at the same time, I believe Maurice at the same time is like fighting off the evil inside of him.
Yeah,
right?
because he's like about to stab Sophie, but he's like stopping.
Yeah, it's like on pause.
Yeah.
And so then that's whenever, thankfully, that wine just gets blasted, and it all just like...
through the room.
Yeah.
Comes flooding out, and it just...
washes over everything, washes over Valak.
And sets Valak ablaze. And Valak just burns up to a little crispy.
Yeah, a little crispy. But also like the power of Valak, because this bitch keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Like go through this, and now we already know that she comes back later on.
I'm a little sad that there was no snakes and that it was all crows.
That's true, right?
It's the Marquis of Snakes.
Yeah. That is true.
I just thought about that.
I actually didn't think about that until just now. And it would have made more sense to have like snakes be more of a calling card than...
Yeah, but there was no snakes at all in this one.
Yeah. That's interesting. There were snakes in the first one. Maybe they thought, well, we did that already.
Yeah. But again...
It's okay.
The
crows were pretty good, though.
Valak, maybe Valak was fulfilling the defiler, the profane, a little bit more.
And these
during this one, sense. She's like, we've already done the Marquis of Snakes.
That's out, guys. Can you imagine? I'm like imagining
that was
an SNL
2019
of like Valak.
When did The Nun come out?
2018. Yeah,
2018. Damn it.
It's okay. And so yes, Valak loses. We got the big boss. He's done. And then Maurice comes back to us. And
sister, you saved me.
Yeah. So he thinks, and then that's whenever we have, the debt's been repaid, and they're like, all lovey-dovey, and everything's good now. And then we cut to it being, I'm assuming, a few weeks or a month or something, and then
because he's all kind of healed
up a little bit, and
he's still got a limp.
Sister Irene comes and takes him outside and shows him that his tomatoes have grown.
Yeah, and now they're all big. Big tomatoes now. And I guess because Sophie was taking care of them, because she walks up with a little water pail.
Yeah.
And then they just walk off as a happy little family.
Yeah.
And then it's just over.
Yeah, pretty much. Because he's like, and he's like,
he's
telling them I'm sorry. And they're like, they're like, it's okay. We love you. And then, And then I'm like, he's still a demon, but okay. Because that's just how much pretty he is.
Still a demon?
Well, he has to be.
Oh.
Because of The Conjuring and his interaction with Lorraine.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because that still hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, because that still hasn't happened.
That's like in another 15 to 20 years.
Oh, right. That's what we thought was going to happen in this film before The Nun 2 came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I forgot.
That we're going to maybe tie into that somehow, but no.
Yeah. Oh.
So there's still more.
R.I.P.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Poor Frenchie.
Yeah,
He's gone through the ringer.
Mm-hmm. Valak was laying dormant in there for a while then. Because I'm pretty sure
she's like, okay, fine.
Because that's 56 and the stuff, I believe that didn't happen until like the 70s.
Yeah.
Is whenever she was dealing with that. So that's crazy. But yeah, that is The Nun 2, you guys.
The Nun 2, 2023.
2023. I think we can go ahead and go straight into the booze.
Yeah. Tell me your booze.
I would give it, honestly, a 4.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot better than the first one. And I really liked that Valak got and had a lot more to do in this and was kind of more of like a, not just like at the end of a hallway or like a silhouette, situation. And I enjoyed everybody's acting. I thought everybody was really cool. The actress who plays Deborah, I've seen her in a lot of stuff lately, and she is a good actress. I actually really like her. I don't know her real name in real life, but she's been in a lot of new things recently. Obviously, I'm a fan of Taissa. And then we have
Storm Reid.
Frenchie is pretty good. I like all the new characters. I think everybody has a good.
She was in A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah.
And she's in Euphoria. And The Last of Us. And The Invisible Man.
Like the list goes on. She's been in a lot of new movies recently. I can't talk right now. Sorry. And so we have everybody's acting is good. I like all the new characters. I feel like nobody was just added for like whatever fuck's sake. Like everybody had a part that they played. Even like the mean bitches. Like it kind of worked. And getting
they were necessary
for
to
the plot.
Tell us about the goat eye and stuff like
that. Exactly. And then
because Sophie would have never gone into there on her own accord.
And it's a way of bringing exposition without it being forced. Of like, here's a book and here is lore. Like it was like natural.
Yeah.
And then we have. It's really cool, I guess, that we get kind of more like, okay, Valak's after these eyes. Like, there's kind of more of a purpose to this demon. I hope that maybe opens up like other things that we can find out about the Conjuring universe, like how she was like the descendant. So I mean, like, do you have powers? I don't know. It's all fictitious, made up stuff, but yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I give it a 4. That's all.
Nice.
That's it. Yeah.
And some fun facts.
Yeah.
The movie was filmed at an actual abandoned church in France.
Cool.
So that's cool. With the release of this film, director Michael Chaves has now directed most films within the Conjuring universe. He unfortunately did 2 of the worst ones. The Curse of La Llorona and The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.
Got it.
And The Nun 2. This was definitely the best of them, in my opinion. And yeah, that's what we've already seen. Sorry, this one, I was reading it and it's what we've already know. It's about the tomato seeds. Joseph Bishara, I think is how you say his name, who composed all past movies in the Conjuring universe except for Annabelle Creation and The Nun 2018, was supposed to score the film, but it was replaced by Marco Beltrami. And then this will be the first film in the Conjuring series to be filmed in Panavision anamorphic. All the other films were shot in spherical. I have no clue what that means.
I have no clue what that means at all. I didn't notice anything like completely or utterly different. If that,
yeah.
Oops, my bad. I don't know if that was not the
that's
point.
That's some expert level film stuff, and that's
I was like,
not
I don't know
us.
what that means.
So we're just here to talk about our opinions and not actually know anything about film.
Maybe that means something.
Spherical 2.39 ;1.
Huh.
Who knows? Anyways, I think I would also give this movie probably like a 3.75. No, maybe a 4.
I was just feeling extra generous. It probably doesn't even deserve a 4, but I'm giving it a 4.
I thought it was a really good film. I mean, watching it was it was an hour and 50 minutes. But it was fast for me. It did go by fast.
And I was like, that was a short movie, and you're like, no. And I was like, oh, you're right. I guess it wasn't. But I don't know. It didn't feel too long. I like how it also broke it up. I guess it almost felt like, in a way, it felt like a first, second, and third act in a sense. Like,
yeah, because we had the 2 storylines and then 2 different storylines, and once they converged, then we had the like main.
It felt very final
event happening.
Yeah.
I want to give it a 4, but I just can't get past the goat. Yeah, the goat. I
actually really liked the goat man.
I liked the goat man in general. He reminded me a bit of like Krampus.
I can see that. Were you the one that showed me the original idea for Valak?
No.
Weren't you that showed me the image for Valak, what it was supposed to look like originally, but then they were like, we'll make it a nun. Oh, okay, maybe that was Robert. It kind of looked like that. In a way.
Let me see.
I'll have to show it to you. But I was like, oh, I guess they kind of repurposed that for
to make the goat the devil.
Yeah.
Well, and then I mean, the devil's always kind of portrayed as a goat.
Yeah. Oh, for
human.
Sure.
So.
Because they even shot with it with Lorraine for a little bit, but in the first one, but then they changed it to like.
Oh, maybe that does sound familiar now.
It looked like that. Like there's only like a prop thing that we can kind of see that they were using.
Well, that's terrible, and I'm glad they didn't go with that.
Mm-hmm.
It has the same teeth as Valak.
Like here's, I guess, a better one. It would have looked like that.
That's pretty cool, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's just the fact that the goat said "ha."
Yeah.
That part was comical to me.
That's fair.
But the way that it stalked down the stairs and was stalking them was terrifying.
So 3.75 final?
No, I'll give it a 4.
4? Okay.
I thought it was a very incredibly well acted movie. Everyone did a great job. The soundtrack was, I hardly noticed it, so I think
same. When you started bringing up the composer, I was like, oh, well, I barely noticed the music, to be honest. So
they did a good job of cueing things, I guess, and us not noticing it. And
if we can't say anything bad, I guess that means it was okay. It was good.
Yeah, it did its job of not standing out in a bad way,
and it kept us in the zone.
Yeah. And then overall, I thought it was beautifully shot too. All the images and the angles, and then the lighting and everything on it. I thought
that was the panoramic, whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's why.
Well, I'll have to look up what
the
the
angles
hell that
were
means.
cool. Like especially whenever that first shot with the nun shadow, and then it coming onto Maurice,
Yeah.
and then the red, where Valak came out with that little delivery
French
girl.
girl.
Yeah, that was really cool shot. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
It was neat
because it did almost like it kind of gave like fish islands in a way. Yeah. So maybe that's what it meant. Panoramic.
Which panoramic?
Yeah, you get everything right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have to
Instead
rewatch
of
and
spherical being like.
Yeah.
But spherical would give a more fisheye,
right?
I think.
I'm like, I don't know how that works.
I don't know.
They're just reviewers, you guys. But that's it, you guys. That's the Nun 2. And if you liked our review, that's awesome. And if you didn't.
If you thought it was trash, horrendous, whatever the original thing said that we said at the beginning.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. It's okay. Let's wait for the next episode because we might have something you will like.
Yeah.
And
maybe. And then if you really didn't like it, reach out to us. Let us know why you thought this movie was trash, garbage, and the like.
A shit
Sareki. That's how you say trash in Korean. It's my favorite word.
What is it?
Sareki.
Sareki?
Sareki.
Sareki. Sareki.
Yeah.
Sareki. Cool. But yes, and once again, we're in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios.
That's right.
Doesn't his face kind of look like E.T.?
Yeah, it does.
And they always take good care of us. You can listen to our show on their website or a bunch of other podcasts as well on that website, which is roguemedianetwork.com.
That's right. And then you can also listen to us on a slew of other podcasting platforms, the biggest two being
Apple.
and also Spotify. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that's the only way we can get ahead in this world. And then word of mouth, tell your friends. It's spooky season's over, but you can watch horror movies all the time. Yeah, not for us. We're 24/7, 365. Spooky, ooky, wookie all the time. But if you want to let us know your thoughts on The Nun 2 and why you hated it or why you loved it, like we enjoyed it, you can reach out to us on our one social media platform, which is Instagram, and that is at
BooBaes Podcast, and that's at BOOBAES, because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes.
That's right. And if you think we should make shirts that say Cunty Communion, or at least a sticker or something, let us know.
Yeah, if you want it, let us know. We'll make it happen.
We can make that ribbed for nobody's pleasure. I think it'd be cute if we could make condoms that say, and then that we just pass those out.
Ribbed for nobody's pleasure.
Yeah, and then they said BooBaes on the back.
Oh, that'd be cute. Yeah.
That would be cute.
And it'd be like little ghosts. Whenever they put it on the dick, it's like a little ghost, and it has like
little eyes.
Yeah.
On it. That'd be cute. It just makes it a little chic ghost.
Yeah.
And then
I think that's pretty much it. No.
Yeah, I still want to make Deputy Daddy T-shirts too.
Oh, Deputy Daddy, that's a good one.
Deputy Daddy.
Yeah.
We have lots of merch ideas that we'll never bring to you guys. I'm just kidding. Maybe we will.
Maybe we will. Hopefully we will. Merch is good.
But yeah, if you're interested, let us know. And then until next time, you guys.
Bye, Baes.
Bye, Baes.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.